Welcome to Stories from the Top. I'm your host, Lance Tanaka, and I'll be interviewing successful executives from the best of the best global companies about leadership and their journey. I'm sitting with Eric Hefferon, CEO of Impact Physical Therapy. And so we're going to hear from a successful entrepreneur. He's also the creator of Dr. E's Back Pain Kit. You can get this on Amazon, and I would suggest that you get it. It's amazing. Now, Eric had a challenging early life, but he overcame those challenges through hard work, a competitive spirit, and leveraging his passions, strengths, and experiences. Partnering with his wonderful wife, Tammy, they founded Impact Physical Therapy. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate your time. I'd like to just start off with, maybe you can give me a background of your journey. You're a CEO now of the company, but how did you get there?
I don't know how far back I'll go, but I'll start from college. I've always had a passion to be a leader, and just sort of that was a natural characteristic of mine, I think, especially leading by example, and over the years just improving leading by my words. But I was captain of our basketball team in college, and I always knew that I enjoyed working with teams. I always knew that I loved competition and being a leader. So my journey from college, to where I am now, took me from going from exercise science major in my undergrad, and then getting into graduate school at A.T. Still University in Mesa. So I'm from Oregon, and that's what drove me down here to beautiful Arizona. First year of school, I met my wonderful wife, Tammy, and I would say I got to give her tons of kudos and success or props on all of our success that we've had here at Impact, and just my journey as a husband, father, and companion. So, a lot of big shout out to her for sure. I wouldn't be here today without her. And going through physical therapy school, I actually didn't know that I wanted to be a CEO at that point. When you're in physical therapy school, a lot of times you're just trying to get through school. And so it didn't really occur to me that I wanted to own my own business until a couple years out of being a physical therapist. I worked for a couple other businesses, smaller private practice clinics in the Valley. And right away, though, I knew as I was a part of that team, I wanted to have some leadership opportunities. So I remember the specific story of my first job, and I was about a year and a half in, and the owner of the business said, "Hey, we have a satellite clinic up north, and we're looking to hire somebody to help kind of run that." But I figured that I'd ask you guys internally as a therapist to see if somebody would like to go up there. And so he's like, "Do I have any interest?" And I just shot my hand up really quick, and I was like, "I'll do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to help. I want to help grow it. I feel like I can do it with some mentorship." And so I was the only one that raised my hand. Everyone kind of looked around, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna work with that." So that kind of started my interest in being a leader and directing people. I only had one person underneath me, but it was a good start. Then I really just had that just passion and drive to want to do more of that. As I got into it more, I just got more interest. So I kind of reached the ceiling at where I was at there, and then I applied at another clinic to be a director. So it was definitely a bigger role of managing the finances and managing hiring and firing employees and reviews, and so I was giving more responsibility there. Definitely a step up from where I was. And then just like any evolution, of that, I kind of started to reach my ceiling, and I saw really a lot of holes actually in the process, and thinking like, man, there's a lot of things that I feel like we could do better and improve on. And so that was a big thing of not only the management of how I felt like things could be run better and how the business could have been run better. That was a big part, but then also how physical therapy in an insurance-based model was run. And I could see the stress that the owner had with taking all insurance plans and the stresses of making a living and being able to do that, and how that actually in turn, running it that way, in turn affected patient care. So that really hit home to me. I think that was a big thing. Is thinking like, man, there's got to be a better way to give quality care to people than what we're doing. Now, don't get me wrong. People enjoyed coming. I'm not going to say they didn't or they didn't get better, but I would say there's just got to be a better way. And at that point, I was kind of, I would say, 5 or 6 years out of practicing, and I was kind of getting that burned out type feel of seeing like 35 patients a day. And so I remember this one story. I came home and I was in my, my slacks and my polo, and I had my work shoes on, and I just laid flat on the bed, and I was looking up at the ceiling fan, and I said, Tam, this is my wife, Tammy, I said, Tam, I saw like 30 something patients today, and I don't even remember like half of their names or what they came in for. Like it's a total blur. And I just remember vividly, we got to get out. I got to get out of this model. We got to do something different. And so my wife's also a physical therapist, as I mentioned. So she said, why don't let's think about just opening our own practice, So in 2015, we opened up Impact Physical Therapy and in Glendale. And so that was our first location. But, right before we opened, I would say, 6 months to a year before that, we weren't sold that we were going to actually do an out-of-network type clinic. We were kind of bouncing the idea of doing the same thing of where my background was. Like, should we do all insurance? Because that's kind of what we know. But then as I thought about it more and did more research, it was, I would be, in a sense, the same as the owner, the stresses that he had because of the insurance model. And I didn't want to be now, the owner on the other side of that. And I said, there's got to be a better model. So we researched that and came to the conclusion, like, let's be an out-of-network clinic. Let's give quality over quantity and really have a patient-centered focus. So that's why we created Impact in 2015 with the passion and drive to really treat patients as individuals and that quality over quantity method and model. And then it was myself and one treatment table. And that was it. I didn't have a front office. I didn't have anyone that did the laundry. I would put the laundry in the bag and I would bring it home at night. And my mother-in-law and I would help, she would help me wash it. Then I'd fold the towels. And patients wanted receipts for their insurance submission. So I would do that at night. So I was wearing all the hats. And kind of fast forwarding from 2015 of that one location in Glendale, we now have 2 locations and multiple employees and just an amazing staff of people. And our journey currently is in our vision is headed to opening up more clinics throughout the valley. That's sort of our BHAG or our big, hairy, audacious goal of growing our practice.
An LT observation. Eric built his life on strong foundation from his upbringing. He identified his passions, his strengths, to choose a career in physical therapy. And then he spent time working in these companies. But he had an epiphany. Using his competitive spirit of improving things, fill in the holes of an old antiquated system, with his wonderful wife Tammy, they would change the model of delivering of physical therapy and create Impact Physical Therapy. Along the way, he further discovered he loved leading and building a business. The thing that I picked up on, you were talking about improvement. Is that something that drives you when you see something that's not right or not working? It drives you crazy. You say, there's got to be a better way.
Absolutely. I think some of that is driven from being a physical therapist, right? So we're constantly looking at people and figuring out what's their problem and then how do we have solutions to fix that problem. So I think that carries over that characteristic of being a physical therapist into a business owner as well. We look at systems and processes and procedures, and I feel like I'm able to kind of evaluate that based on my kind of physical therapy background and evaluate that and say, hey, listen, you know what? There's got to be a more efficient way to do this. There's got to be a better systematic way to be able to do this so that we can execute it effectively. So yes, I think looking at problems and helping to try and solve those is something that we do constantly, that I do constantly, and always looking to improve. So, okay.
Another thing that you said is competition. So you're a competitor. You're competitive, but in some circles, that's becoming almost a problem. People point to that and say, no, we shouldn't be winners and losers. Everybody should get the participation medal kind of thing. How do you reconcile that?
Competition is healthy. There's a right way to be a winner and a right way to be a loser, right? And we have two wonderful children. They're both highly athletic, and it starts by teaching them, hey, listen, you're not going to win all the time. You're not going to lose all the time. There's a right way to win. There's a right way to lose. And but I think healthy competition is extremely important. I think you're right. Sometimes we get away with just handing out participation awards across the board, and maybe in certain levels, maybe that's, if we're talking about kids sport and youth, well, at a certain age, they're just trying to learn. But when you get into the adult world and the world of business and careers, I think it's important for people to understand that it's okay to lose, and not everyone should be a winner. That there are things to strive for to improve and get better, and competition is one of those driving factors. So I think that was one of my characteristics I put down, is just I'm highly competitive with myself. I enjoy adding competition within our business for our employees. Some of the statistics that we post, almost a scoreboard, if you will, everyone gets to see that. And so it drives some competition between employees, but again, healthy competition. I think we can learn a lot and grow through competition.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh man, so much advice. I would say, let's say maybe early on, running a business, I would definitely tell my younger self, to be patient. That being competitive as I am, sometimes you want it now. You want success to be overnight. You want to be farther along than where you currently are. So I think just telling my younger self, hey, listen, be patient. If you put in the time and the work and effort and learning and growing, that you'll see the fruits of your labor later on, that you just can't get it all now. So I would say that's a big one. Another one that comes to mind is just gratitude. I think that as a leader and somebody that's highly competitive, sometimes you're always trying to grasp for the next thing, right? So in a sense, where is the apex? When can you hang your hat and say, I've made it. Now I'm quote unquote successful. I've done it. I've done all the things. And I think it's important to have goals and milestones, but it's also really important to have perspective and just be extremely grateful. Otherwise, you can sometimes be unhappy. So I think that's a constant thing I have to tell myself, but I would definitely tell my younger self to focus on that.
Okay. You're talking about creating a different model, which is quality over quantity, right? And I think another one of your things is around it's personal care. It's not you get full attention from your therapist, throughout that whole hour. So you're trying to build a culture. What kind of culture are you trying to build, and how are you building it?
That's other growing pains as a small business that we've grown through, is how do we have the right people on the bus and the right seats to be able to grow the culture, because really, right, the people in the business make up the culture. So we've done lots of exercises of core values in the past, and really the core values come out of the employees that work there. And so we've developed some core values that help to drive our culture at Impact Physical Therapy. And as you mentioned, some of those values are to be, give quality care and to treat people like individuals. And I think when you have the right, going back to the right people, hiring the right people that are caring and compassionate and patient-centered and patient-driven, that helps to drive the overall culture of the business in itself. Because I can tell you, when you have employees that aren't the best or don't match up to the core values that your business has, then things don't go right. I mean, it definitely can steer the ship the wrong direction and can influence other employees. So I think it always starts with people to build the right culture, and Impact won't grow and won't be successful without having the right people on board.
When you're interviewing for people, because you're growing, you got to bring more therapists in. What is that? Obviously you're looking at their qualifications, their experiences that need to match up with what you need. But what is there something else that you're looking for and saying, yeah, that's the kind of person I want to bring into Impact?
Yeah, that like it factor, because you're right. I mean, a licensed physical therapist will be qualified, once they pass the board exam, they're legally able to treat patients, but it goes way, way more deeper than that. So when I sit down next to somebody that's applying at Impact Physical Therapy, the it factors that we look for besides just regular qualifications, I mean, they have to be compassionate. They have to be self-driven, to be able to want to grow themselves and grow with the team. I mean, I think you can see that through their tone, through their eye contact, through their excitement and enthusiasm. I think those nonverbal characteristics, if you will, I think go a long way in the interview process. We also use like a scorecard type thing for an interview process, which is helpful. And one of those big things on the scorecard is, like I mentioned before, our core values. So with our core values in front of us, if they're talking organically and hitting some of those core values, so one of them is community. So if they're saying, hey, I really just have a passion for impacting the community, like I enjoy going outside the clinic and doing pro bono work, or I have a passion for doing on-site kind of treatments and things, then in my scorecard, I'm thinking, okay, well, they've kind of touched on that community aspect without me kind of, initiating that. So that's huge. So those it factors, those nonverbals, and then also making sure that they hit on those core values that are really important to us.
An LT observation. As a young entrepreneur, he learned that people were the key to success. Therefore, as he was growing his business, he needed to find people who shared the same core values. Quality over quantity, focus on the patient, self-driven, impacting the community. Okay, what would you consider your greatest leadership challenges?
Some of my biggest leadership challenges, I would say, come from the opposite of my natural tendency is. So my natural tendencies of who I am, I'm a just energetic and excited and optimistic leader. So that's my natural tendency of where I want to go, right? So during our team meetings and one-on-ones that we have with our employees, I'm definitely the rah-rah and hype guy. But that also, where I lack, I would say, is on the flip side of that. So giving constructive, real-time criticism or feedback, I should say, to employees is something I've definitely grown and improved on, but can continue to grow. So if an employee's not meeting expectations, or they're doing something that I could maybe let slide, it needs to be addressed immediately. And so that's something that I feel like I lack but continue to improve on. I think it's important for the employee to know if they're out of line or not meeting expectations, but real time. So a lot of times I might tell them later on, but it's important for them to grow in their personal growth. And if they never know what I'm thinking or telling them right away, then it doesn't give them a fair opportunity to be able to grow themselves either, because no one's saying anything. So I would say that. The other thing is, as we grow, we're building a leadership team. So my job is not necessarily now to go to every employee, but to lead the leaders. So how to coach them to help other employees that we have, instead of just saying, hey, this is kind of how I would do it. So leading leaders, helping them to learn how to motivate their employees and their teams.
When you're talking about feedback, you're saying that's something that you had to learn, that you have to continually develop. Was it difficult to do in the beginning, either because you didn't feel like it wasn't nice to give somebody negative feedback, or what was kind of the barrier for you that you had to get over?
I think just, again, my natural tendency is I don't want to hurt someone's feelings or making them feel like it could be a personal attack on them, when I needed to change my mindset and continue to do that, of saying I'm actually helping them to grow by giving them feedback. And there's a right way or a path to give constructive feedback without being rude or without making a personal attack. So I think it just comes to the root of like, man, if I bring this up and tell them right now, am I gonna like hurt their feelings? Are they gonna get pissed? Are they not gonna like me as a leader, right? As that? Are they not gonna work as hard because I did that? But through, definitely we've had, multiple employees, I think, just learning that journey, that they need to know that for their own personal growth. And it actually, and in turn, it builds a better relationship. And I know that seems weird. It's almost counterintuitive. It's like, I don't want to tell them these things because I want to maybe ruin the relationship. But it actually, in a sense, it doesn't help the relationship if you never tell them anything that's wrong or real time or things to improve on. Whereas if you tell them that and this dialogue, then you actually grow together. So it's almost the opposite of what I fear.
So for you, it was less really around develop a skill. It was more around you got to change your mindset.
Yeah, just changing my mindset. Exactly.
Okay. An LT observation. Fear of giving clear, honest feedback is actually a common issue amongst many managers. That's why in Smart and Associates survey showed that 75% of people rate their manager as poor coaches. So how did Eric address this? He was smart. He focused on changing his mindset, that giving at times difficult feedback is actually good for the company, but also good for the person. Regarding future growth, your business is kind of like mine, which is very labor intensive. You only have so many hours, right? It's not something that you can easily leverage or replicate. So when you're looking at growing this business in the future, how do you address that?
I think the short answer is hiring good people. So good people that are qualified to do the jobs and duties that we need as we grow. So as I mentioned before, I was bringing home the towels at night and I was doing the super bills and receipts. And so hiring that first employee to help answer the phones and do the laundry and those things. So it's important to find good people to grow the business. I've done some good personal development with some org charts and goals and those things. So to kind of almost in a sense of where do you want to be and work backwards from there. Knowing that helps to give a vision so that I know like, hey, once the business gets to this point or, this size, we need to hire these types of people for this role. So it always starts with people. I mean, all day of the week, every day. It starts with good people, hiring them and finding out the things that I'm passionate and good at that can help the business and knowing the stuff that I'm suck at and need help with and to hire those people that are actually good at that. So Erin, our director of operations, has been a godsend. We hired her and she's amazing at running the operations of the business, especially with policies and procedures and being organized. And that's just not, I'm not as good with that. Like an employee handbook, that's like totally not me. Mine's more of when are we going to open up the next clinic and who do we hire and how do we get more business and the marketing and more of that. So, it's definitely nice to have that counterpart. Having my wife, she has a full-time job as a professor, but she's definitely, I would say, my coach as well. So on some of the leadership things, she helped to grow a business of 5 employees to like over 20. So she's had experience in the PT realm that way. So she helps me with some of those leadership things as well. And just excited to grow, but bring on good people and identifying the challenges that are in the business and hiring the right position for that.
This might be a sensitive question. What is it like having your wife being your partner in the business? There's got to be a challenge there.
It's been great. And I think, again, people don't understand all the time that she actually has her own career as a professor. So that's her Monday through Friday for the most part, in addition to being a mom and a lot of other things. But so when we collaborate on impact, it's a few hours a week. It's conversations at night, in the middle of the night or the morning or in passing, and sometimes as a group between Erin, myself, and her. But I think we work really well together, and it's, she has her main thing, and I have mine. So it's not like when people say, "Oh, you work together in the business," not like we're on top of each other all day. Like I'm at one table and she's at the other, and we're like in it 100%. So it's a passion, or it could be a vision later on where she's actually taking on more responsibilities and being more on the day-to-day at Impact. But I feel like we do a good job managing that. We know each other's strengths. We know if we're frustrating each other. We have 2 clinics too, so if we ever get too frustrated, one of us could be at the other one, and the other one could be at the other one. So, right?
That's a good strategy. And then just one more question. Give me 3 words. Give me 3 words that describes you.
The first one I would say is competitive. I took a personality test, and that was, I don't remember which one, but it was the first thing that came up. So my just competitive nature. The second thing I would say is passionate. I enjoy life. I'm passionate about a lot of different things, and passionate about just life in general and growing a business and just being involved. And the third thing is I feel like I'm personable. I feel like people, when I meet them, they like me. I don't come off being a jerk or those things. So I would say those are probably the 3 things that come to mind.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate your time. I was excited about interviewing you because I just, I see you're a person who leverages their passion, their strengths, their experiences, and put it in there. I love this aspect around managing around your weaknesses, that you don't have to be great at everything. Yeah. That's why you hire people. Yeah. And your focus really is to build a business, is to bring in the right people, doing the right things. And then, of course, you had the vision, and that's why you're successful.
Well, I really appreciate that. This has been a wonderful opportunity, and just thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Eric.